Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about one of the most controversial organizations in modern India, Bajrang Dal. Over the last 4 decades, this group has grown from a relatively small religious youth mobilization platform into a powerful street level force that shapes political narratives, communal tensions, and public discourse across several Indian states. For some, Bajrang Dal represents cultural pride, Hindu assertion, and grassroots activism. For others, it represents intimidation, vigilantism, and fear, particularly among minority communities. So, what is the truth? How did this organization rise? What are the atrocities it has been accused of? Bajrang Dal was founded in 1984 as the youth wing of Vishva Hindu Parishad. It is part of the broader ideology family often referred to as the Sangh Parivar. The 1980s were a period of growing religious mobilization in India, particularly around Ram Janmabhoomi movement in Ayodhya. Bajrang Dal's initial purpose was mobilization, organizing youth volunteers, protecting religious processions, and building momentum for temple campaigns. But over time, what began as mobilization transformed into something far more assertive and controversial. The 1990s were crucial. During the Ram Janmabhoomi agitation, the atmosphere in India became heavily polarized. Bajrang Dal activists were highly visible in street mobilizations. After the demolition of Babri Masjid in 1992, communal tensions escalated nationwide. While multiple organizations and political actors were involved in that period, Bajrang Dal's image became permanently tied to aggressive mobilization. From that point onward, critics began to see the group not just as religious volunteers, but as ideological foot soldiers prepared for confrontation. Now, let's talk about the allegations of atrocities, because this is where the debate becomes intense. One of the darkest chapters associated with Hindu nationalist mobilization was the 2002 Gujarat riots. During those riots, members of several organizations were investigated and prosecuted for participation in mob violence. Bajrang Dal members were among those named in certain cases. Court delivered convictions in some instances and acquittals in others over the years through complex legal processes. But the damage to public trust was permanent. For many Muslims, the event of 2002 became a symbol of vulnerability. And the presence of aggressive street organizations like Bajrang Dal deepened that fear. Beyond large scale riots, there have been numerous reported incidents of vigilante violence. Bajrang Dal activists have been accused in various states of attacking individuals suspected of cow slaughter or cattle transport. In some cases across India, mobs, including self described cow protection groups, have assaulted or even lynched men accused of consuming or transporting beef. Whether every such case directly involved Bajrang Dal or not, the group's strong anti-cow slaughter campaigns have placed it within that broader ecosystem of vigilantism. For minority communities, particularly Muslims and Dalits involved in cattle trade, this has created a climate of anxiety. The fear is not always about law, it is about mob action before law. Then came moral policing. Over the past 2 decades, Bajrang Dal activists have repeatedly targeted Valentine's Day celebrations, interfaith couples, pubs, and college campuses. Young couples have been harassed in parks. Shops selling greeting cards have been vandalized. Women have reported being shamed or threatened during such campaigns. These incidents are often justified by activists as resistance against Western culture. But critics argue this crosses into harassment and social control. When private citizens begin policing morality without legal authority, it sends a message. Certain freedoms exist only conditionally. Another serious area of controversy involves what activists call love jihad. Bajrang Dal members have intervened in interfaith relationships, sometimes forcibly separating couples or pressuring families to file police complaints. The term itself is politically loaded and not legally established as an organized conspiracy in courts. At the national level, Yet on the ground, accusations of love jihad have led to detentions, violence, and intimidation. Muslim men in relationship with Hindu women often report facing harassment not only from families but from organized groups. Whether one believes such campaigns are protective or oppressive depends on ideological perspective, but the fear experienced by targeted individuals is real. Christian communities have also reported harassment. In several states, prayer meetings have been disrupted by activists accusing pastors of forced conversions. Anti conversion laws exist in some states, but enforcement is meant to happen through police and courts, not mobs. When religious gatherings are stormed by activists before investigation occur, it raises constitutional questions about freedom of religion. So, why does this continue? Why does Bajrang Dal remain active and influential despite repeated controversies? This brings us to the political dimension. Bajrang Dal is not officially part of BJP. It is not a registered political party, but ideologically, it shares the broader Hindutva worldview. During election cycles, polarized communal atmospheres often benefit hardline narratives. Critics argue that street level mobilization creates emotional consolidation among voters. When opposition parties demand a ban on Bajrang Dal, BJP leaders often frame that demand as an insult to Hindu sentiment. This rhetorical defense strengthens the perception of protection. However, it is important to stay factual here. There is no formal evidence showing that the BJP directly commands Bajrang Dal operations. The relationship is ideological and ecosystem based, not organizational hierarchical. But perception matters in politics. When activists accused of violence receive bail quickly, or when police response appears slow, critics interpret that as support. Supporters argue the opposite, that law enforcement should treat individual crimes separately from organizational identity. Let's talk about the psychological effect. When minority communities see mobs enter neighborhoods, question food choices, interrupt relationships, or disrupt worship, it produces a chilling effect. Even if no violence occurs, the message is clear. Your actions are being watched. This is what human rights groups describe as intimidation. Fear does not trigger constant violence, it triggers unpredictability, and unpredictability is powerful. Supporters of Bajrang Dal, however, tell a completely different story. They argue that the organization provides disaster relief during floods and earthquakes. They say it protects Hindu girls from exploitation. They claim it prevents illegal religious conversions. They insist that media outlets exaggerate violence and ignore social service activities. To them, Bajrang Dal is not a terrorizing force, but a necessary cultural shield in a rapidly changing India. Now, does Bajrang Dal represent the majority of Hindus? Absolutely not. India's Hindu population is diverse, politically varied, and culturally plural. Many Hindus strongly oppose vigilantism. Many support cultural pride but reject violence. It is crucial not to equate a specific organization with an entire faith. Bajrang Dal's rise tells us that grassroots ideological organizations can shape national discourse without holding a formal political office. It demonstrates how identity mobilization can both energize supporters and terrify opponents. And it forces India to confront an uncomfortable question. Can majoritarian culture assertion coexist with constitutional equality? So, what do you guys think about Bajrang Dal? Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.